Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'll be responding to this comment left by the one, the only Jake Zweig on my video over here titled "Navy SEAL Terrorist," giving terrible advice to Granny GI Jane. I tagged Jake Zweig in the video. All right. Now this video, basically, I'm doing well. First, I showed a clip from Fox News. Okay, and it shows a real story. And yes, you can corroborate the story with multiple sources. Look it up, all right? Basically, during the Afghanistan war, the United States military was basically letting their Afghanistan, yes, their U.S. backed Afghanistan police chiefs practice this like Bakabatsi child rape ritual worse than the Taliban. Yes, the United States backed and supported allied Afghanistan police chiefs were literally raping people worse than the fucking Taliban. Okay, that's according to Charles Martland, who is a Green Beret. All right, who beat the fuck out of one of these pedos, and he got discharged. Now he did get reinstated after about 5 years of, bunch of legal litigation and whatnot. But no thanks to Barack Hussein Obama, who was the commander in chief at the time. Yeah, Barack Hussein Obama, here's the thing, he did intervene to help out Gina Haspel. Yeah, Gina Haspel, the director of the CIA, she broke the law, and many other people broke the law and tortured the fuck out of innocent people. All right, and and Barack Hussein Obama didn't prosecute her. He's like, oh, let's look forward, not backwards. Okay, did he have that approach with Green Berets who who beat the fuck out of uh, Afghanistan? You know, Bakabatsu pedo terrorists. Okay, here's the thing. I mean, they did report it and nothing happened, so they had to intervene. You know what I mean? Like the government, the United States military, and obviously the U.S. backed Afghanistan police were letting this shit happen. They didn't do shit about it when it was reported. Okay, so two Green Berets named Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's this guy on the right, and Charles Martland. Yeah, these two Green Berets, they intervened and beat the fuck out of one of these child rapists when he was bragging about it and basically just saying he's gonna keep doing it, and they beat the fuck out of him and they got discharged. Thanks, Obama. Okay. So then later on, I do a video. I talk about this video by Jake Zweig, and Jake Zweig is a former Navy SEAL. He was in the fucking military in special forces. Okay, pretty sure he was in military in the '90s. All right, which is um. So yeah, so I'm like, Jake Zweig, you've been in the military. You've got to know about all this fucked up shit that goes on, and you constantly talk to naive, impressionable kids, who are wanting to join the military, and you're not telling them about all this fucked up shit. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I have seen a good amount of your content. I'm not aware of you talking about the Charles Martland case and or cases similar to that, you know, and 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 Jake Swig did his video responding to this 41-year-old lawyer who's wanting to become a SEAL, and he's basically saying that, oh, you can't do it, you're too old, we should let you try out, but you're probably gonna fail out, but I should at least give you a shot. And my point is, well, exactly what I said beforehand. Why the fuck are you even encouraging people, especially, here's the thing, most of the people who Jake Zweig is influencing are teens and young adults, people with underdeveloped brains. And yeah, the military typically targets that age group because they have underdeveloped brains, because they're not as capable of thinking logically and reasonably as someone who's, in their mid to late 20s, in their 30s, Now, this stupid bitch is in her 40s and she still wants to join this fucking organization. I mean, what do you think about the Charles Martin case, Mrs. 41-year-old Granny G.I. Jane? I don't know, gotta ask. But whatever. So Jake Swig was kind enough to watch my little YouTube radio talk show episode, and he left a comment. He says, I know about it. It's called Afghanistan. What are you talking about? Yeah, man, I'm a tourist. Why don't you get out? If you don't like America, why don't you get out? Now, Jake, look, sir, I definitely do greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch my little YouTube radio talk show episode and leave a comment um, responding, because I'm sure you get a gazillion different notifications and whatnot every day, right? Thanks, Obama. But look, I mean, like, what are you saying here, dude? I mean, like, this looks like it was. You know what? Let me just read my response to this. I did write a pretty in depth response. Let me just read that. That covers everything I was gonna say. Right. Here's what I say to Mr. Jake Zweig. In this video, I was referring to how, in this case, U.S.-backed Afghanistan police were constantly practicing pedo bakabatsi worse than the Taliban. Worse than the Taliban. American soldiers were told to do nothing about it because, quote, it's their culture. And if they did intervene, like Martland and Quinn did, they got in trouble. But Barack Hussein Obama did nothing to help people like Martland and Quinn. But he did help. But yeah, he had no problem stepping in to help out Gina Haspel when she broke the law and tortured innocent people. The U.S. military has a horrible track record of treating their soldiers and/or people in general completely unfairly. Take a look at Gulf of Tonkin, a lie to get into war, resulting in the horrifying death and injury of thousands of soldiers and civilians. Take a look at the Iraq weapons of mass destruction lie. Look at how much Trump lied about getting out of these wars. Look up Gulf War syndrome, the government maiming and killing their own soldiers with medical experiments. The list goes on and on. Do you really think that's a good idea for naive teens and young adults to be signing up for this shit when there's this kind of grotesque track record? If you don't like America, you can get out. Dude, Jake Swig, you are hilarious, man. Did you really say if you don't like America, you can get out? That's hilarious, bro. If you don't like America, you can get out. Well, I actually do think that America is one of the best places to live as a civilian, despite the fact that I do have critiques about its foreign policy. But that's the thing. Are we forced to join the military? Not currently, and not for a very long time. And we generally have the best free speech laws, which protects our right to openly critique U.S. foreign policy. Does that answer your question as to why I don't get out? I did a quick Google search of Afghanshi, and I couldn't find what that was supposed to be. Can you please elaborate? Yeah, true story. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this Afghanshi shit is. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was called Bakabatsi. I don't know. You're the alleged expert, Jake Swig. Please enlighten us. All right, let's continue. Then I go on to say, do you think that it's okay for the American military to kick out white Green Berets for beating up Muslim pedos, but not kick you out for beating up U.S. soldiers for calling you the N-word? Yeah, true story. Jake Zwig, in multiple videos, very clearly stated and confessed to the fact that he assaulted white U.S. Military personnel, all because they called him the N-word, all because they used freedom of speech to say a politically correct bad word that hurts his feelings. Okay, so he does not get kicked out for that, but Charles Martland and Danny Quinn, two white Green Berets, they're gonna get kicked out for beating the fuck out of a Muslim pedo. Yeah, they beat the fuck out of him, not because the Muslim pedo called them a bad word that hurts their feelings. No, they beat the fuck out of him because he was raping little boys, and the government wasn't doing anything about it. You know, like, come on, see how fucking dumb that is. Anyway, let's continue with my fucking comment. Seems pretty unfair, don't you think? Why should you get extra woke DEI African American Obamacare privileges, allowing you to assault U.S. soldiers for calling you a bad word that hurts your feelings, but white Green Berets can't beat up Muslim terrorist Afghan pedos? Okay, yeah, Jake Swig, please address these questions here. Please address all these points I've made. All right, you're saying you're like your comment here. You're saying a bunch of just shit that just sounds kind of like sarcastic, and you're just saying a bunch of shit that makes not a whole lot of fucking sense, dude. Like this sounds like it was written by a fucking middle schooler. Okay, but that's offensive to middle schoolers because I'm sure some middle schoolers don't write stupid shit like this, okay? I'm sure at least some middle schoolers would, I don't know, at least address the talking points, that were made in the video. Yeah, saying you're not really addressing, like, okay, so yeah, you sarcastically claim that you sarcastically say, yeah, man, I'm a terrorist. But that seems like, I don't know, it just seems like you kind of have a sarcastic tone implying that you're not literally a terrorist. Okay, well, please elaborate, sir. Um, I mean, how are you defining terrorist? What's your definition of terrorist? Okay, is it terrorism to groom naive teens and young adults into joining a fucking pedo terrorist organization, which is unfair and racist? Yeah. Oh, you may like it because they let you get Obamacare, African American DEI privileges, which let you beat the fuck out of and assault U.S. military personnel, all because they said a bad word that hurt your feelings. But okay, so the military is not going to kick you out for that. They're not going to kick you out for that, but they are going to kick out white Green Berets, all because they beat up an Afghan pedo. Okay, yeah, and again, let me reiterate for the thousandth fucking time. Okay, they did not beat the fuck out of the pedo because he said a bad word that hurts their feelings. No, they beat the fuck out of him because he was literally trafficking and gang raping little boys worse than the Taliban, and the U.S. government wasn't doing shit to stop him, okay? Even though this was a U.S. backed Afghanistan police chief, all right? Okay, so that's why Danny Quinn and Charles Martland, that's why they beat the fuck out of him, okay? It wasn't over some petty insult, you know, oh, he said a bad word that hurts my feelings. No, all right. First of all, what about all this thick skin shit, huh? Like, which one is it? Okay, is it thick skin, toughen up, don't show every reaction? When people say bad words that hurt your feelings, or is it, cry bitch mode and assault, U.S. military personnel over them saying a bad word that hurts your feelings, all because they said a politically incorrect joke? All right, Jake Zweig. Okay, do you really think this is fine and dandy? Like, I mean, maybe you do. I mean, it seems like you do. Yeah, I'm sure you do enjoy these, Obamacare, African American, DEI entitlements. Okay, fucking affirmative action. Yeah, Jake Zweig is a fucking affirmative action, DEI, Obamacare, you know, hypocritical prick, assaulting military personnel, and not because not because they were raping little boys worse than the Taliban. No, 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 no. Because they simply said a bad word that hurts his feelings. All right. Wow. So much for freedom of speech, right? Aren't you all about American principles for freedom of speech? Look, if they said a bad word that hurt your feelings, why don't you just retaliate verbally? Call them something bad. Yeah, just say, just counter insult. Say something offensive to them. I mean, I'm not saying why not use why not just use freedom of speech to counter politically incorrect speech? All right, call them offensive slurs. That's just as bad. Yeah, why not do that? I mean, I thought that's the American way. Use freedom of speech when someone says a bad word that hurts your feelings, man. Is that the American way? I don't know. Okay. Or are we supposed to beat the fuck out of people when they say bad words that hurt their feelings? Okay. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what the rules are. Okay. I keep getting mixed messages. Okay. I keep getting mixed messages. All right. I keep getting told two completely different rules, and I'm lost, confused. All right. Jake's wig. What are the rules? Okay. are are U.S. military personnel allowed to assault people for saying bad words that hurt their feelings? Is that okay? Um, or is it bad for them to assault Afghan pedos who rape little boys worse than the Taliban? Okay. Look, I mean, pick one and stick with it. Okay. I mean, I'm sick and tired. Look, the military needs to pick a rule and stick with it. All right. If you're gonna let Jake's wig, if you're gonna let fucking if you're going to have fucking, Obamacare, affirmative action, DEI, Jake's wig, these fucking special privileges to assault military personnel over a verbal insult alone, okay, well then you better have no fucking problem with, you know, Green Berets like Danny Quinn and Charles Martin beating the fuck out of, legit Afghan pedos for trafficking little boys worse than the Taliban. Yes, they were literally trafficking little boys worse than the Taliban. Okay, US backed Afghanistan police literally trafficking little boys worse than the Taliban. Worse than the Taliban. And the US government did nothing about it. That's why Charles Martin and Danny Quinn intervened, all right? Okay, Military, government, pick a rule and stick with it, okay? You're gonna let Jake Zweig assault people over verbal insults alone. You're gonna let Gina Haspel torch the fuck out of people and not prosecute her. You know, you're not gonna prosecute her. Look forwards and backwards with her. Oh, you're not gonna have that approach with Danny Quinn and Charles Marlin. See how fucked up and unfair this is? Okay, Jake Zweig, can you please address these sorts of talking points? Okay, what are you talking about? Okay, what I very clearly elaborated what I'm talking about, sir. Okay, you say you know about it, but it sounds kind of, again, it sounds sort of kind of sarcastic-ish. I know about it. It's called against you. What are you talking about? What the fuck? If you don't like America, you can get out, dude. This sounds like it was legit written by a fucking middle schooler. Okay, Did you get too many fucking concussions from full tackle football? Yeah, bro. Do you know that full tackle football is more dangerous than UFC fighting? Yeah. So here you go, Jake Swig. Maybe that's a problem. Okay, maybe that's a problem. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you take some more of that, DHA, you know, yeah, DHA omega 3 type of supplements, isn't that good for your brain? Yeah, lion's mane, fish oil, have maybe you should try some of those supplements, you know, help heal your brain from them fucking concussions. Cause yeah, dude, this, honestly, man, this sounds like something that was written by a fucking middle schooler. And and look, to be fair, I have no problem with like childish and immature insults. I mean, look at my videos. I clearly say lots of silly goose profanity. Have a very childish, immature sense of humor in general. I mean, just look. I mean, clearly you can find lots of examples of me. Having a very childish, immature presentation. But like the point is, I at some point address the fucking points, right? Yes, it's intertwined with childish humor, but I do address the general points. Generally speaking, you're not. You're just saying a bunch of stupid bullshit, and you're just not even really addressing my points that much. Like, again, okay, Jake Swig, if you see this video, if you've got the time, okay, can you please address some of these talking points? I mean, what do you think about the whole U.S. backed chief of police practicing Bakabatsi pedo terrorism worse than the Taliban? Worse than the Taliban, okay? Worse than the Taliban. They were doing it worse than the Taliban. Jake Zweig, do you really think it's no big deal for U.S. backed chief of police to be trafficking little boys worse than the Taliban on U.S. military bases, and U.S. military personnel can hear the screams of little boys at night? And they're told no big deal, look the other way, it's just their culture, okay? And if you do intervene and beat the fuck out of these asshole pedos, oh, you're gonna get kicked out of the military. Oh, but we're not gonna kick out Jake Zwig when he assaults military personnel for saying a bad word that hurts his feelings. We're not gonna kick him out because he's black and he gets African American DEI, Obamacare, affirmative action, special privileges, right? Because that's the woke libtard way. All right. Thanks, Obama. Okay, and Barack Hussein Obama is actually going to um, have a similar type of approach with Gina Haspel. Yeah, Gina Haspel and many others broke the law and tortured people. She did not get prosecuted. I'm pretty sure she did not even lose her job. In fact, Trump endorsed her. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she did not even lose her fucking job, and Trump gave her a fucking endorsement. In fact, I'm pretty sure Trump openly supports breaking the law and torturing people. Yes, Trump is openly against the Constitution. Yeah, okay, conservatard homos. You guys say that you love all this freedom of speech shit so much. All right, faggots, if you love freedom of speech so much, not free, well, not freedom of speech. What was I saying? Constitution. That's what I meant to say. If you guys love the Constitution so much, if you love law and order so much, then why the fuck are some of you? Well, then again, nowadays a lot of conservatives are having second thoughts on Trump, which is great. But okay, those of you who haven't yet seen the light, okay, can you please see the light? Trump's against the Constitution. It's unconstitutional to torture people. Okay, the government is not legally allowed to torture people. Just the way it is. All right. If you say you're all about the law and order and Constitution, okay, you should also be all about the U.S. backed Afghanistan police. Yeah, yes, you should not like the U.S. backed Afghanistan police chiefs trafficking little boys raping little boys, practicing Bakabachi terrorism worse than the Taliban. Okay, you should not support that shit. Okay, like again, why the fuck does Gina Haspel get a fucking free pass? Why the fuck does Jake Zweig get a free pass, but Charles Marlin and Danny Quinn, they don't get a fucking free pass, even though they didn't really do anything wrong. Okay, Jake Zwig, I thought you said that. Oh, yo, man, I love the savagery of the SEAL community, man. I love how you can just beat the fuck out of people if they make fun of you. All right, okay, you say you're all about assaulting military personnel if they over insults alone. Okay, if those are the rules, then surely they should be allowed to assault, um, U.S. backed Afghanistan chief of police who constantly rape little boys. I mean, sure, they should at least be allowed to do that as well, right? Right, Jake Swig? Okay. Which one is it, Jake? Is it, oh, we, we should be allowed to beat the fuck out of people for insults alone, for verbal insults alone, um, or we just gotta never use violence ever, even when U.S. backed chief of police are raping little boys worse than the Taliban. Okay, again, they were doing it worse than the Taliban, Jake Swig. They were doing it worse than the Taliban. Okay, you really think it's no big deal? Okay, can you please at least tell naive teens and young adults that shit so they can make an informed decision? Because let me tell you something. I was interested in joining the military, the U.S. military, when I was about 16 years old. Yeah, for about a year I was interested in joining, but then the more I learned about it, the more research I did, the more I lost interest. All right, and yes, this story right here was one of many examples of many reasons why I decided not to join the military. Okay, Jake Swig, you were in the military. I mean, it seemed like you know about this shit. Why aren't you telling kids this shit, huh? Huh? Why not? Okay, is it because you're a big cyberbully?